Zanies, I have a pretty darn good track record when it comes to emergency response Liberty County predictions. After all, almost a year ago, I predicted snowball fights, vehicle customizations, I said more building interiors would be coming, and I even spoke briefly about the addition of more off-road trails. And perhaps the most profound prediction I've made that has come to fruition is the addition of all the recent civilian jobs. If you don't believe me, go check out the video for yourself. Today, I am giving you my newly updated list of ERLC top 10 predictions, features, jobs, and buildings coming to Liberty County. Make sure you're subscribed because this is going to be part 1 of a 2-part weekend series. The first part is going to be in my top 10 predictions that are likely to come true, and the second part, being published tomorrow morning, will be my top 10 wishful thinking predictions, or top 10 things that I hope will come to ERLC and are perhaps not so realistic. We have a ton of information to cover, so hit that subscribe button and give this video a like if you enjoy all my theories and speculation. My first prediction for ERLC, and one that I've already seen come to pass over the last several months, is building interiors. But let me share with you why I believe the developers are not done just quite yet. Have you all noticed that throughout this year, many buildings that were once random, but yet somehow in strategic locations have been given life? I'm talking about the convenience stores, the post office, and the gun store. All of these buildings were once lifeless, and even some of the buildings that weren't lifeless per se, like the hospital and the police department, have been given major facelifts. And of course, how can we neglect the newly established news station? I firmly believe this is a trend that we're going to continue to see for the rest of 2021 going into 2022. Whether this will come as very basic open interiors or more carefully crafted indoor environments, I don't know, but trust me, we will see more of this in the future. My second prediction, I went back and forth on whether to leave it in the realistic predictions list or move it over to the wishful thinking list, and it's only because there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the developers are content with the current size of the map as is. And what I'm referring to is another map expansion. Yes, you heard correctly. I'm going to be bold here, and I'm gonna say that another city is in the long-term works for the game. And no, I'm not talking about just another underdeveloped portion of the map and giving it life. I'm talking about a whole new section that is not currently pictured on the map and an entirely new city to live there. This topic is exciting because it will call for a new police department, dual fire stations, dual gun stores, dual tool stores. Everything will of course have its own look, and the city will have its own unique layout. But the reason why I almost moved this over to the unrealistic wishful thinking list is because this also means that the server sizes would have to increase by at least 100%, and this also means that small servers would fall to overwhelming criminal activity, and realistically it might be harder for cops to do their job. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this realistic or unrealistic? Let me know in the comments below. On the list as number 3 is Liberty County or River City Bank. And I know, I already talked about building interiors, but the reason why I wanted to give the bank its own place on the list is because this update would likely impact the way the game is played and how role-playing is carried out. If you ask me, it's so obvious from reading all of your comments that many of us felt shortchanged and perhaps even a bit disillusioned that we didn't get the bank during this last building update and instead got a news station. But if it can serve as any light or a glimmer of hope, I have some information from a reliable source, whom shall not be named, that the developers have not dismissed the topic of a bank. Let's also not forget that when the comments on Twitter overwhelmingly suggested that the news station was actually going to be a bank, Mr. Fergie came out and simply said, "Sorry, it's not a bank, guys, wait till another day," hinting that that day may come one day soon. I have high hopes, and this is why the bank makes it on my list as its own separate prediction. To sort of piggyback on the idea that the bank will likely bring a new wave of criminal activity, my fourth prediction is that we will see a criminal overhaul, or what I'm calling a criminal revolution. Within a 12-month time frame, I strongly suspect we'll see a new robbery opportunity along with new tools and equipment for would-be criminals to use. This can also be very simple examples such as introducing a card scammer to steal gas from the gas station, or perhaps something like a crowbar to break into the cash registers at the convenience stores. But more elaborate ideas of this of course include the bank, Grand Theft Auto, and even taking someone hostage. Taking someone hostage might actually have a really dark look in the game, but we all know it would be fun. I'm laughing because as I'm thinking about this, what if we can go to the tool store, buy some twine, some duct tape, and then walk up to a random player and play some kind of mini game and then take them hostage? I don't know. Maybe the store can sell us some chloroform too. It sounds twisted as as I'm talking about it, so maybe not that extreme. But you guys smell what I'm stepping in, right? I sense a criminal revolution is coming. To wrap up my spree on would-be criminal activity, my next prediction is that we'll see more hideouts or secret places to meet and go to. I've talked about this many times, and since then, we've seen a huge expansion given to the cave or the tunnel network, but I still think there's more coming. Many of you have pointed out the sewer access covers that can be found all throughout Liberty County, and I wouldn't doubt if there comes a day where maybe we see ourselves getting access to a few sewer holes here and there. I'm not talking about adding an entire underground network to the map because that would just be insane, but if they added access to a handful of sewer holes, then obviously everyone in the map would know to possibly look there for any runaway criminals. Even if it's not this, I predict we're still going to see more hideouts like the bunker and caves coming to Liberty County. My sixth prediction has to do with the law enforcement team and particularly how the MDT and helicopters are used. It wasn't until earlier this year that the MDT received a rather big facelift, or maybe it was late last year, I don't quite remember. But as we all know, the MDT is actually quite comprehensive. You can join calls, run plates, look for criminals to see who's wanted, pinpoint key events to an exact location on the map, and more recently, you can call for air support directly from the terminal. However, I predict there's more coming. Just like calling for air support, wouldn't it be awesome if we could call for a tow truck directly from the terminal? Wouldn't it be just a little bit easier if we can request emergency services such as fire and EMT all with one push of a button? And speaking of calling for air support, I also think we're going to see improvements on how and when the helicopter is dispatched. At the time of making this video, the helicopter can only be called upon when there's a wanted criminal, but my prediction is that soon enough we'll be able to use the helicopter more freely and with less restrictions. Since we're talking about helicopters and vehicles, now is a good time to jump into the current lineup of cars in ERLC. Over the last year, we've seen some amazing refinements to the collection of cars that have lived in ERLC pretty much since the start of the game. But did you all notice that throughout the year, almost every single update has come with a vehicle update as well? Even if it hasn't been a major one, every update, for the most part, has brought vehicle refinements with it. And because of that, my seventh prediction for Emergency Response Liberty County is that we're going to continue to see the roster of vehicles grow. But more than that, I think this will come as a major update, not a 1 or 2 vehicle at a time update. I still speculate, because of the recent partnership with the folks making Greenville, that there's data and information being shared behind the scenes that we don't know of right now. So although I'm sort of directing this point toward the fact that this might lead to more cars in ERLC, I think this might be the basis for a lot of things. But I don't mean to digress. The point I'm trying to make is that my seventh prediction is that we will see more and newer cars coming to Liberty County. As I mentioned earlier when I was talking about building interiors and several previously lifeless buildings being given new life, the same can be applied to the environment around us. Therefore, my eighth prediction is that we will continue to see not just more, but more significant environment improvements throughout Emergency Response Liberty County. Examples of this are all around us already. Think about it. A year and some months ago, approximately, we didn't have a gun store. We didn't have the nicely built police department. We didn't have the nice hospital. We didn't have the full-blown housing tract that we have today, and we certainly didn't have the post office, and the list goes on and on. If we begin to appreciate the little things, such as the additional dirt roads, the added park, the expanded cave network, we can see how many improvements have been made to the map. I think this is yet another trend we're going to continue to see over the next several months, and surely going into 2022. Some predictions of my own include a viewpoint, somewhere where players can either drive or walk up to, another rest area similar to the park and pond areas, but maybe this one somewhere in the northwest portion of the map. And to tie this idea with my building prediction, I think we're going to see some signage and props on some buildings very soon. Another topic that I hesitated keeping on the realistic predictions list is more civilian jobs, or at least the development of existing civilian jobs. Let me tell you why I hesitated with this one. First, if we did see more civilian jobs come to ERLC, what would we see? Honestly, if you have ideas, let me know in the comments below. But realistically, how many more jobs can be added that will really just end up being a novelty? For example, if we talk about anything that is not a dedicated server, if I had to rank the current jobs based on the amount of times I've seen players actually use the team and try to roleplay, it would be the gas station worker in Dead Last, the farmer, the street sweeper, and the doctor. I rarely, if ever, see anyone play on those teams. Conversely, I routinely and consistently see people playing as a mail carrier, Department of Transportation, EMT, and more recently the news reporter, but I have a feeling things might change with the popularity of the news reporter job over time. All of the jobs have incredible potential, but that potential comes at a steep price and with the requirement that other things change in the game's environment before more interactive features are added to existing jobs. I hope that makes sense. In any event, my 9th prediction is that just like the criminal revolution, we will see a job revolution in the future. My last and final prediction, number 10, should really come as no surprise to anyone. If you play Roblox, if you follow Roblox, heck, if you've heard of Roblox, you probably already heard that there's a huge shift happening in what gameplay will be like in the future. More specifically, how players communicate. Several breakout news articles earlier this month reported that Roblox is rethinking how players communicate and is considering proximity-based audio as a possible solution. Many online games already use this feature, some popular games being PUBG, Fallout 76, Rust, Ark, just to name a few. What that means is that voice chat is not going to be a giant room of Wild West conversations. This translates into being able to communicate only with players that are near or around you. This would be perfect for ERLC. Think about being pulled over and only being able to communicate with the officer that's conducting the traffic stop and nobody else, or working in a team or a gang and only being able to communicate amongst your groups. As I understand it, and please don't quote me on this, Roblox is actively in conversations with trusted developers to identify the best way forward. Therefore, my 10th prediction is voice chat. Wow, I feel rather confident about all my predictions, boys. I'd say we have a solid list here, but I want to hear from you guys. What are your predictions? Do you agree or do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below what realistic predictions you have. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, long live the Zanies.